Left Cocoa Beach with Martina going to Spartenberg, South Carolina. Stopping at Buster Laster's and Nell's in Savannah, Georgia. That evening we left about 12 o'clock from Cocoa Beach, arrived about 5:30, 6 o'clock in Savannah. Had a little problem trying to find Buster's house, but finally had to call him from Piggly Wiggly, and he gave me a couple of street directions and made it okay. We spent the afternoon with them in the evening, had some chili made by Nell, then sat around and chewed the fat and showed some pictures, then went off to bed, got up in the morning, had a nice breakfast about 11 o'clock, and then left from Savannah, Georgia, going up I-95 to I-26. That I-26 comes out of Charleston, South Carolina, and heads on up to Columbia and then to Spartenberg. It took us about 5.5 hours to get to Spartenberg. We stopped a couple of times for coffee and a sandwich at McDonald's, was it? And then we got on into Spartenberg about 5:30, 5:45. Didn't have too much problem finding Carolinda Bishop's house. One wrong move and we finally got there. So that was the evening. We went out for a quick lunch about 7:30, and then came home and went to bed about 9:30. The next morning we got up and went towards Cowpens and visited the Cowpens battleground, which was very interesting, and had a nice display building. Everything was free. Had a big motor tour around it, so you can take a look at different stops to see where the battlefield was. Basically, it's pretty well grown up now, but anyway, we had a nice time, and then came back to Carolinda's house and went on and had a little light supper after having a pretty good lunch. Today, the 24th, we're going to head out, the 24th of October, we're going to head out towards Chimney Mountain, and that's north towards, on 26 towards North Carolina, and do a little visiting up there. It's a beautiful day. Was about 40 in the morning, and it's about 69 to 70 during the day. Give you another report later on. It's now 14:10. We just stopped into Hendersonville at the Po Folks restaurant, a family-style restaurant, and had country fried steak, French fried okra, potatoes, and white gravy. It was very good, very filling. Guess we're going to start off again now for Chimney Rock, which is kind of west of Hendersonville. Hendersonville is just a few miles south of Asheville, North Carolina. It's 15:30. We're on the top of Chimney Rock, looking over the vast mountains of North Carolina, seeing the big dam down here called Lake Lure. It's a beautiful setting. Some of the trees are changing pretty well. The bare rocks and prominent as the sky's blue, a few clouds, a little haze on the mountains. Really, really nice looking. Well, I guess we'll go into the gift shop and take a look at that and see if I can get a card or two for Swent and Ova about Himmelbier. Wednesday, October the 25th, we came down to Walnut Grove Plantation, an old farmhouse built in 1765. Walnut Grove Plantation is on the land granted by King George III to Charles Moore, the builder. And this section of South Carolina was the western frontier. The documented collection of antique furnishings and accessories vividly portrays the living conditions in this
Spartenberg County prior to 1830. There is a main house with chimneys, double-shouldered chimneys, clapboard over log construction. There's also other buildings include the Rocky Springs Academy, which was a small school, the beginning of a formal education in the area. A separate kitchen with a fascinating collection of 18th century gadgets and utensils, blacksmith forge, the meat house now displaying many other articles. Let's see, the Conestoga type wagon and the well house with its dry cooling cellar and office of Dr. Andrew Barry Moore, the country's first doctor. In addition to the ancient and lovely oaks and walnuts, the grounds include a herb and flower garden centered with a dipping well, and the Moore family cemetery where are buried Margaret Catherine Katie Moore Berry, daughter of the house and a local Revolutionary hero, and other family members and slaves of the Revolutionary soldiers. The Katie was a scout for the armies and was able to warn of the British coming for the Battle of the Cowpens. We were given a tour by several ladies, one of the house and its furnishings and the upstairs where the children lived, and also by another lady of the cookhouse and the schoolhouse. Very interesting with all the artifacts. Most were not original, but were of the period of time, the different utensils that they used, and the beds and things that they slept on. Walnut Grove Plantation is on land granted by King George III to Charles Moore, the builder. When this section of South Carolina was the western frontier. The documented collection of antique furnishings and accessories vividly portray the living conditions in Spartenberg County prior to 1830. The main house has a double-shouldered chimneys, clapboard over log construction, fielded paneling, and Queen Anne mantels. The other buildings include Rocky Springs Academy, beginning of a formal education in the area, the separate kitchens with a fascinating collection of 18th century gadgets and utensils, the blacksmith's forge, the wheat house, the meat house, now displaying old tools and other artifacts, the barn sheltering a Conestoga type wagon, the well house with its dry cooling cellar, and the office of Dr. Andrew Barry Moore, the country's first doctor. In addition to the ancient and lovely oaks and walnuts, the grounds include an herb and flower garden centered with a dripping well, and the Moore family cemetery where buried are Margaret Catherine Katie Moore Berry, daughter of the house and a local Revolutionary heroine. Other family members, slaves, and Revolutionary soldiers. The daughter of the house had been the scout for General Morgan when to help out in the Battle of the Cowpens, and she reported the British marching into the area. 26. We have left now for up into the mountains. We are going to Cherokee, which is a Indian reservation, and we plan there to look over the area. We plan to drive up into close to Asheville, and then take Route 40 across from 26 over to 19 and down 19 to Cherokee, and by the way of Maggie Valley, which is kind of a tourist resort, tourist area. We had lunch at Maggie Valley in a restaurant. It's kind of a family-style restaurant, pretty nice. Looks like it's pretty new. We proceeded on into the Cherokee Indian Reservation and looked in the museum there. Bought some stuff. Unfortunately, the Indian village had been closed as of the 25th, and today is the 26th, so we missed that by one day. We started back, and I determined that my front left tire was wearing improperly, and so we stopped at the station, filled it with gas, and I put the spare tire on. Need to get the car realigned. It looks like the front end is wearing very badly. We drove for 2 hours, about 75 miles from the beginning of the Blue Ridge Parkway down, and then turned off on 285 down to Brevard and came back across to 26 and proceeded on down to Spartenberg. We got home about 7 o'clock. Pretty long day for driving it, leaving at 10 o'clock. So we shall get the car fixed tomorrow and see what happens. 10:27, we went to visit Bolton and James at Main Street to see about getting the automobile realigned, and it cost us $28 to have the car front end realigned, which was out pretty bad, and had the new front tire put to the rear on the left-hand side. And we went down to a fish camp close to Walnut Creek for supper about 6 o'clock, and had too much to eat. Came home, watched a little bit of the baseball game at Candlestick Park, then went to bed early. Well, tomorrow we'll get up and go to a luncheon up towards Asheville a little bit and visit the Carl Sandburg estate. 7 o'clock, October the 28th, we went up to Flat Rock after having lunch at a restaurant on the South Carolina, North Carolina border. It was a very nice lunch, had liver, and I guess Martina had turkey and dressing, and it cost us about $5. We went on up with Mr. Adams, Clarence Adams, in his car, and it's on Route 26 on the way up to Flat Rock, and we visited the Sandberg house and had a tour of it, saw a short video film of him, kind of introduction of him. The house is an old house. It was built back about 100 years ago, and it has a very nice overlook of the pasture. His wife was involved in raising goats, and he had 3 children. He is now passed on, and it is a national park. We then returned. The colors were very good this time of night, and the trees are getting to be very beautiful. It's Sunday, 10/29, 7:35 day Eastern Standard Time. We changed time last night. Well, we're getting ready to leave Lindy's house about 7:35. Get down the road and see how long it takes to get to Cocoa Beach. The weather's pretty nice this morning, nice and clear. Had a little breakfast and ready to trompe.
Paris. Combien coûte un billet de première classe pour Paris?
second class.
Deuxième classe. Deuxième classe.